Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. I've got my chai tea here. I've got my notes here, and today we're going to talk about something that I just feel like it isn't talked about a lot in the homeschool circles. We're very into the academics, and we're very, we like to talk about curriculum and all of those details. But when we get to the very end of our homeschooling journey, graduation is such a big event. And so today I'm going to break down all of my tips for planning a graduation celebration that has nothing to do with transcripts and academics and those kinds of things. We're going to just talk about why we should celebrate and how we can do that, and why we should be starting now. As I'm recording this, it is not quite mid-February. I would still say it's early February, and I have been planning for a while now. And so I hope that this is going to be helpful, something that you can file away for later. If you have a sophomore or a junior as well, this is something that you can refer back to. But I just think that it's something that we should be celebrating. So we're going to get into that today. I hope that you find it helpful. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It just really helps YouTube to show you more content that you are enjoying and liking. And it also helps the channel for more people to be able to see my videos as well. So super appreciate you doing that, and let's get into it. Okay, so if you see me looking down, I am referencing my notes. I have just a few things that I definitely don't want to forget to mention to you guys. The first thing that I'm just going to say right off the bat, it's something that I've gotten asked repeatedly, which is interesting. It's an interesting question, but I think that as homeschool gets more and more, gains more traction, gets more, socially accepted and more popular, I think that this question will kind of phase out. But that question is, are your kids getting a GED, or are they getting a real high school diploma? They're getting a real high school diploma. We are our own schools as homeschool families. We've created our own one-room schoolhouse, and it is a real school. And so all that to say, your kids, when they graduate your school, they're not getting a GED. They are getting a diploma from your school, your real homeschool. And so when they go out and get a job or go apply for college or whatever they want to do next, they will have a real diploma, and they will also have a real transcript. So that is a bit of a technicality that I will mention. I said I wasn't going to mention academics, but I will say this one thing, which is your child is you're going to want to create for your child. If you haven't done this already, I hope you've done this. If your kids are younger, definitely start this when they're in 8th grade or a freshman, just because it's just easy to add every year a transcript. It's much easier to just continuously add to the transcript rather than try to come up with, or remember, I should say, everything that they've done through their whole high school career at the very end. And so if you haven't done this already, look back in your records and create a transcript for your child. They're going to need this probably at some point. Even if they don't go to college, it's a good thing for them to have. Sometimes certain programs want to see the transcript, even trade schools, things like that, they're going to want to see a transcript. So it's just a good thing to have on records. You can actually find all kinds of templates for free on Homeschool Legal Defense Association's website, hslda.org, I believe. And so you can find just free templates for those and fill those in, save them on your computer, save them on a backup hard drive, and then keep a couple of hard copies so that they're ready to have at hand. So you're going to want that transcript, and you're going to want to sign it too when you get to the end of your child's high school career. That makes it official. And then it will include all of the credits that they earned throughout their whole high school career. And then you're going to want to order a real high school diploma. And you can find those at homeschooldiploma.com, and I can link them below. They have beautiful diplomas, and they have all kinds of different options that you can choose from and customize. You can add scripture if you want to. You can add a quote if you want to. All kinds of different like frames for them and cases for them, leather cases. They're really nice. So definitely, as your child is nearing graduation months, get them one of those official diplomas, and so they'll have their official diploma and their official transcript. Okay, so with the technicalities out of the way, let's talk about graduation and the actual event of graduation. I think that sometimes we get so caught up in the academics of homeschool. We want to make sure our kids have gotten, any college credits that we want them to get, and had, gotten all of their, the high school credits that we want them to have, and all the extracurriculars and all of those things. But I will say, having now my second child graduate this year, having graduated my oldest a couple of years ago, it is such an important thing to kind of pause and actually acknowledge what you have done with your child for all of these years. The hours and hours of planning that you've put into it as the mom, choosing the books, choosing the curriculum, the hours that you've sat together as a family, learning together, and kind of marking time that we're moving on to another stage. It is the most bittersweet thing I think I've experienced as a mother. I have no regrets. Of course, there's things that I'm like, oh, I wish I would have maybe chosen a different curriculum for this or that, or like, small things like that. But as far as like when I look back at the time I've spent with my kids, I really couldn't have spent more time with my kids. I feel like I really did take this job seriously. And I didn't do everything perfectly, for sure. And neither did my kids. But it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about staying the course. It's about noticing and acknowledging the importance of what we're doing as homeschool moms, and really just being able to have a front row seat of watching our kids become young adults and getting to have this glimmer of what maybe God has in store for them in life. And it is such a gift to be able to do this. And so I think that we would be amiss if we didn't take the time to celebrate with our child, with our family, with grandma and grandpa, with other people that love our children, their youth pastors or their mentors or their boss if they have a job, like all of these people that have been part of your child's life and their upbringing, and you as the parents being the first and foremost people raising your child. It is such a gift and such an amazing moment to just pause and celebrate. And so I would really recommend to not skip over this part. I don't think that it has to be a huge thing. I don't think you have to have like 1 million people there. I don't think you have to go into debt having a party. But even as much as just as simple, I should say, as setting up a big table and printing out some pictures of your child and putting them down the center of the table, and having like aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas come over and do a big toast to your graduate. Even something as simple as that is just, it's so important to do, because I think that we sometimes forget that this is a lot of work, and there is an end date to it. And so it's good to mark those important dates. And so I highly recommend having a party of some kind, however that works for you and your family, And also if you can do a graduation ceremony. So a lot of people ask that too. Do they actually have a graduation ceremony? It depends on where you live. You might have you might be in a bigger area where there's all kinds of different options for you. Sometimes every state has their own state organization. Like we have in Minnesota, MACHE, which is Minnesota Association of Christian Home Educators. I think that's how it goes. Every state has one of those state organizations. And I've noticed that a lot of them actually have their own graduation ceremonies. Obviously that would be, wherever the organization is located. So I don't know if that would work for everybody, but you can check that out for sure. And they might actually be willing to help you plan your own in your area as well. So if you don't have one in your own area, see if you can rent a church, see if you can find somebody to play the piano and some entry, walking in music. See if somebody can play Pomp and Circumstance on the piano or whatever. And get organized and just have your own. You can rent caps and gowns. You can, ask somebody to come and give a talk, give a speech, and you can plan something really simple and really special. So if that is available to you, or if you want to do your own, I definitely recommend doing a ceremony. And then you're going to want to plan some kind of party. So we're going to talk about that next and kind of what we've done and what has worked for us. Okay, so one of the biggest things that I would say to get started on right now, as it's February, this is something I'm getting started on right now, is gathering up all the photos, all of the video clips. Hopefully there's some organization to your photo your photo files and things like that. I know it's such a pain in the butt to keep those things organized. I know for me, I try to be organized. I do have pretty much things in folders, but it never fails. I'm always looking for some photo, some specific vacation or something that I'm looking for. So take this time to print out a bunch of pictures of your child all the way from babyhood to their senior year. Find video clips, save them all in a specific file. So you would have Jack's graduation photos, Jack's graduation videos. And so you have these files, these folders saved on your computer because you might need to reference them a few times. So you might want to print some out. You might want to create a photo, a slideshow with video clips and photos going with music. So you might need to access those a few times. So just make a copy from your original folders, put them into a folder on your computer so you can really access those easily. And then you can do whatever you need to do from there. So I would recommend printing some for a photo display. You could put together little booklets to hand to guests. You could, we actually took a palette, just an old palette that we got for free, and we spray painted it black. And then we just strung some, I think it was just some regular kitchen twine or wire. We just strung it kind of going back and forth on that palette with some nails. And then we had some, I think that they were painted clothespins, and we just clipped them to that wire with we kind of wove in some little twinkle lights, just so it was something a little extra, a little bit more something than just the photos. And that was just sitting there for when guests came in, they could see that and look at that. So we had a couple of different focal points. You could take those things that you put on the table with the wire coming up that you can kind of stick a photo in and put those on the tables. All kinds of different ideas that you can do with your kids' photos from their childhood and growing up years, which is really fun. I loved doing the slideshow presentation. It did take a little bit of time. That's why it's a good idea to get started now, at least, kind of whittling down and making your decisions on which photos to include, because if you're like me, there's a lot of photos to include over 18 years of life. And so get those photos and maybe start choosing some songs that kind of go along with the different, progressive photos that you're going to have. And so that you're not staying up until midnight the night before graduation trying to finish a slideshow, which would not be very fun. So definitely take this time now that we're a few months out to be getting those photos organized. So the next thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna plan out that celebration party. Sometimes people have it the same day of the graduation ceremony. Sometimes people do it much later. For us, for my older son, we did it actually on the same day. It was like a Saturday afternoon was the graduation ceremony, and then we just did his party that evening after the ceremony. With my second son, we're going to be doing it the next night, and hoping for good weather. So pick a date, and then you can let some of your family or friends that might be traveling for this, let them know so that they can make plans if they want to come. So definitely get that guest list, pick that date, and get those things done. One of the first things. Then from there, you can go on with the details. And this is something that your graduate might want to plan with you. So give them some suggestions of ideas for food and see if they have any ideas. It's definitely, something that the possibilities are endless. For us, my husband likes to smoke meat, and so we actually smoked like a pork shoulder. We started a few weeks ahead of time, and he would just smoke one or two over the weekend for several weekends, and then we just kept freezing it. And then we did like pork sandwiches and some sides that we just actually ordered from a local place. And so it was actually, the food was pretty easy. And then you just have, drinks, and like we had these big kind of ice buckets, and then people could just grab a drink. So plan out your food, have them come up with a playlist. You definitely want music playing at a party. I love planning parties, so I'm always thinking through the details. But when I get to a party or dinner or something like that, I always like there to be music playing in the background, so there's no like awkward silence. Don't do that. Definitely have a playlist going. Your kid will probably have some ideas of what they want. If they don't, then there's all kinds of fun playlists out there. Just something fun and lighthearted, and something that would kind of reflect what your kid likes too. So these are things that they can all help with. And then a color scheme, which I know, as homeschoolers, we don't have school colors. We don't have, we don't have a mascot, right? But this is another place where your kid can really help choose something that is maybe something that's their favorite. For my older son, we just did like a basic like black and gold because it's kind of masculine. I'm not quite sure what we'll do with my second son yet, but I think black and gold is a good one for boys. If you have a daughter who maybe likes more like bright colors or something, she might have a totally different fun idea. And so that way, when you have a color scheme, you can kind of be on the lookout for things when you're out and about, and you can be gathering things that kind of go along with your color scheme, so that when you then go to set up, everything looks cohesive and it all kind of goes together. So definitely get working on a playlist, a color scheme, and start thinking about food and thinking about out-of-town guests and preparing a guest list. The other thing is you want to think about the location. So if you're going to do it at your house, think about where you're going to do it. Are you going to do it inside, or are you going to try to do it outside? What's the weather going to look like? Do you have a backup plan if there's going to be rain or bad weather? Does that mean that you maybe need to pick a weekend to clean out the garage so that that's available and open if you need to move things inside? All of these little details that you want to really think through now, so that nothing is a surprise later when it gets close to the day, when it gets close to the event. Because let me just say that is an emotional time. And I think that, we don't want to be sitting around crying all the time, but at the same time, we want to do as much stuff ahead of time as we can, so that we're not stressed out and we kind of miss the specialness of that day, that we're able to kind of sit and really have good conversations with our guests and with our family, with our kids, and all of those things. So anything that we can do now, definitely be doing those things now. So when you decide what you're going to be doing as far as a meal, as far as the location, then you want to maybe reserve some tables, reserve some chairs, some things like that, or maybe ask your church. Sometimes churches have tables and chairs that they rent out or let people borrow, or if you have neighbors or family members or whatever that maybe have some tables and stuff that you could borrow, just so there are, just so you have your ducks in a row in that way if you're going to be serving a meal. Another option is to not serve a meal, just have like a cake, a favorite dessert, something like that. A candy bar would be really fun with, big containers of candy, and then you could have little cups that, the people can like scoop the candy into their cups, whatever. I've heard of other people doing like a breakfast where they just order a ton of donuts and then they have coffee and donuts and they do it in the morning. That's another option too, which would probably be really cost effective as well. So just think about where people are going to sit. We didn't, when we had my older son's graduation party, we did do a meal, but we didn't actually have enough, spaces for everyone to sit down. We kind of wanted to encourage people to walk around and mingle. And so we did rent some high top tables that came with covers, but we didn't get chairs for those. So we had like 4 or 5 of them just kind of sprinkled around the backyard. And so people were kind of standing around the tables just because I wanted to kind of encourage, moving around a bit. We did have a couple of long tables where people could sit that maybe sat like 8 or 6. So we did have a couple of those. But otherwise, we just wanted to encourage people to kind of be walking around. The other thing that I did for my older sons that I thought really worked well was I actually hired some of my younger kids' friends to come, and I don't really know if waiter and waitressing would be the proper term, but they were kind of waiting on the tables. So they were I just sat them down beforehand, and I just and I did pay them just so they were like knowing that this is an official job that you're getting for the afternoon. And I had them, if somebody was standing there with an empty plate, to ask if they needed their plate thrown away or an empty water bottle, or as people came in, if one of us didn't catch them come in, to ask them if they wanted a drink or to show them where the drinks and the food were, just so it wasn't me having to, do a lot of that running around and kind of bouncing from person to person, so that I was more freed up to actually visit with people and entertain instead of, kind of waiting on everybody myself. It worked out really, really well. So if you have younger siblings, I would say like 11, 12, it's a great job for them. It gives them something to do, and, picking up garbage and things like that, replenishing the drinks if they see that the sodas are getting low, all of that, they can just, have their job, and it works really well to have that. All right. So then the very last thing that I recommend doing, if you haven't done any senior pictures for your child, definitely do some senior pictures. I actually took my oldest sons, and boys are pretty easy. They're not into the whole outfit change and all of that. I think girls can get a little bit more, they want a little bit more variety maybe, but I know for my boys, they were very happy just with one outfit, very fast, like 15-minute photo shoot, and you can pick lots of different areas. Honestly, just going outside and, standing against a tree is probably totally fine for a boy. They don't seem to be too picky about that kind of thing. I took my oldest sons. With my other son, we did just a very fast, it was sometimes photographers do like those pop-up like studio things where you have like a 15-minute slot or a 10-minute slot. We did that with him, and they turned out great. So we did that in the fall. If you have a senior coming up, I recommend getting that done in the summer or the fall before their senior year, or the fall of their senior year, so that it's just kind of done and out of the way, and you still have that good weather and green trees and all of that. But if not, you can quickly go do them now, and so that you have some photos that you can show of them of their senior year to mark their senior year, and then also to use one and to order their graduation announcements. So that's something that I would suggest doing a little bit later. So for me, I will probably order those in mid to late March, just because you know, if something changes, if we, you know, if a date changes, things like that, I don't want to have all of these announcements and then have to reorder them. So you can get them pretty inexpensively on things like Shutterfly, Canva, Minted. All of those have templates that you just pop in that picture, and then you can customize it how you want it, and then you have that done. It's a pretty easy one, but just don't forget to get those ordered, and then you can kind of mark that, you know, passage of time with a beautiful announcement for them as well. And then you can just send them to everybody, all your family, your friends near and far, so that they know that your child is graduating, and they can send them a text or send them a gift or whatever. And so those are my graduation tips. I hope this was helpful. If you are graduating somebody this year, let me know in the comments. I want to know what has helped you, what tips you have, so that we can all kind of see what everybody else is doing. I think that's super helpful. And I just want to say, just to reiterate, that this is such a fun, important time in your child's life. This is a very coming of age time for your child. They are moving on to do amazing things because you've prepared them well, and they're ready to go out into the world as, you know, into the workforce, going into the trades, going to college, whatever. Maybe they're not moving out of your house yet, but things will change in your homeschool because they're not taking your homeschool classes anymore. And so just remember to really soak in this time and to just really tell your child how much they mean to you, how much this journey alongside them has meant to you. And it is such a bittersweet time. It just, you know how they always say it goes so fast. It does go so fast. And so I just recommend really pausing and soaking it in, and just being really grateful for this time that we've had with our kids, because man, I think most of us would go back and do it all again, because it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to learn alongside our kids for this extended period of time and just watch them grow, watch them learn, just see what God has in store for them. I just think it's just such an amazing gift. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you're graduating anybody in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.